Hey there. Are you tired of waiting for the next episode of It's Probably Not Aliens? Well, we've got some good news for you. On Nebula, our streaming service, you can get access to all our episodes a week early. That's right, you'll never have to wait again to hear Scott and I debunk the latest ancient astronaut theory or get a movie fact wrong. But that's not all. Nebula is home to dozens of content creators we know you like, so you can find all your favorites in one place. Plus, we post content on there that you won't find anywhere else. And the best part? By signing up for Nebula at nebula.tv/probablyNotAliens, you're directly supporting the show and both of us. So don't wait any longer. Join Nebula today and listen to the next episode right after this one.
To get started, this happened I want to say 4 hours before we started recording this video. This podcast.
We don't make videos.
My brain.
Here, okay, we just
goodness.
do podcasts.
It's been almost a year since I made a video, and yet I still do it. I get a text.
This is hard because I just want to be open and honest with our audience. This is hard because I don't know. We have a very specific space online. And also, we're going to talk about, because we're recording stuff so far in advance, we're going to talk about something that just happened.
Yep.
But by the time you're listening to it, it is 2 or 3 months old. So walk me through what happened, because I saw it independently of you also. And I was going to text you about it, but then I saw that you also saw it. So how did you discover this thing? This encroachment.
I got a text from Matt Thought Slime that said, I just saw the text.
Interesting that they don't text me. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I just got a text that just said, he's chomping your flavor, and then a link to a YouTube link. That was all I got. I haven't even replied to it yet. Because I don't know if you, okay, so I guess I'll preface this with this. Matt and I have a very strange texting relationship because I think that there's just our brains are poisoned in very, very specific ways that we haven't been able to find in many other people. And so we send each other memes that there's nobody else on earth who will get this or who will enjoy this the same way. And so if there is nobody else, the last one that I got sent was, let me see if I can put this up here on the camera and it'll work. But no, that's not going to work. But it is from Criminal Simpsons memes, and it is the scene where they kill, spoilers for Breaking Bad, I guess. But they kill what's his name? His Hank. But they're all traced over as Simpsons characters, so it's Bart saying "eat my shorts" and then she gets shot. And the one before that
Look, we're dancing around it. What did Mildred send you?
So he sent me this thing that was a video by one Hankold Green of Vlogbrothers fame, and Hank has been, over the years, Hank has done some pretty good skeptical videos on the UAP phenomenon and stuff like that. But this video was definitely felt personal because it was titled "Why It's Never Aliens." Now, that's not exactly the name of this podcast, but
it's not exactly the name. It's not precisely the name of our own podcast.
But I gotta say, it just felt like it was striking a little close to home. Now, I'm guessing it's because Hank Green is I feel like he lives on another tier of YouTube that I met Hank Green on a couple of occasions. We got ice cream together one time and stuff. But
I've also met Hank Green.
And so I'm
this is, yeah.
But I am 95% sure that he has never heard of this podcast. And so it's just a funny coincidence in my mind. But I also know that in internet personality thing that we need to pretend that this is our territory to make a goof about it.
This is a thing. This is for people who aren't internet creators like us. You have to understand, having beef, having even fake beef, especially fake beef, is one of the best moves that anyone can do. Back in the day, there used to be a pretty great YouTube channel called Wisecrack, RIP. They don't exist anymore. But we had some crossover.
They cracked their last
they
wise.
would do they cracked their last wise. We had some crossover. They would make pop philosophy videos. And occasionally I would dip my toe into that when it came to comic books and superheroes. So I did like a philosophy of Thanos video before they got to it. And one of the writers for Wisecrack, I was going to say who no longer works there. No one works there. It doesn't exist anymore. But his name is Alec, and he always was just like, we're going to have beef. You and I are going to have beef. Wisecrack and NerdSync are going to have beef. And it's going to boost our channels up even higher because we're going to beef with each other. I was fine with that because they were like a 1 million+ subscriber YouTube channel, and I still am. So I was like, I'm not. So I'm like, yeah, that's fine with me. So since Wisecrack is dead, I need
NerdSync
new beef.
wins. NerdSync wins.
Yeah, first of all, I win.
You win.
Second of all, I need new beef, Tristan, and my beef will now be with Hank Green.
We will now start a beef with Hank Green, a person who has never heard an episode of this podcast, nor will they.
Almost certainly.
And he probably will never even notice that this beef is happening.
Yeah.
We're struggling.
Yeah.
But speaking of a thing that we're struggling with, starting this podcast, this is a podcast called It's Probably Not Aliens.
This is a podcast called, what was the title of his video?
This is a podcast called Why It's Never Aliens.
That's right. That's the name of this podcast. Why It's Never Aliens.
Oh, man.
Until it is I think the text on his thumbnail.
Yeah. Oh, you know what we need to do? We need to reach out to Scutch and get the art changed.
Get the art changed for this one episode.
Yeah. But it's a podcast about ancient astronauts, ancient aliens, pseudo-history, pseudo-archaeology, and basically just the conspiracy world that has a bit of a sci-fi bent to it. The sci-fi genre of conspiracy culture.
Yeah, that's what we do here. I am one of the hosts of this show. My name is Scott Nicewonder from NerdSync fame. Maybe you heard of it. I killed Wisecrack.
Heavyweight champion has defeated Wisecrack in single combat.
I think I killed Wisecrack, the channel, and that's all that I know. Other than that, I know nothing.
My name is Tristan Johnson, and I worry now that someday, like, the guy who does the literature videos that was on Wisecrack, I can't remember what that guy's name was, but he seemed like he was pretty tough, and he might come for you.
Oh, yeah. Who did Thug Notes?
Yeah. What's he doing these days?
What was his name? It was Sparky something. Was his name? I don't know.
I want to find out.
It wasn't like Sparky Sweets, was it? Am I making that up?
Thug Notes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mostly watched Earthling Cinema, to be completely honest.
Greg Edwards is the name of the host.
Yeah, but he went by a character name.
Yeah.
Like all the hosts did. Like Earthling Cinema is an actor, but he went by a character name. And I don't know either. It doesn't matter.
Anyways.
They're all dead and I killed them.
They're all dead. Oh my goodness. My name is Tristan Johnson. I have never had beef before, so I'm interested in this parasocial beef, this one-sided beef.
This incredibly, it is. It's just us pretending that we're mortal enemies with Hank Green, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I think I've heard of Tristan. I think I got ice cream with Tristan once. Was he mad about that?"
So today, first of all, if you got this far, 10 minutes into the episode-ish, I will have to tell you that if you didn't listen to the last episode, stop and go listen to that one instead, because this is a part 2 on our Göbekli
Surely
Tepe.
it's in the title of the episode.
Yeah, probably. So it's our Göbekli Tepe part 2. We talked last time about the claims made about Göbekli Tepe being a construction from a advanced civilization from the ancient ice age that, unlike primitive people, could not move big or could move big rock. Could they do it by taking so much LSD that they could move rocks with their mind? Who knows?
Who knows?
And the two genders of interpretation were that it was either people who did so much drugs that they could lift rocks with their mind, or that also those people were definitely white from Atlantis, or aliens did it. So those are the two those are your two genders of answers there.
I think we came up with our own third gender, but I don't remember what it was, even though it was just last week when we did it.
It's been a hell of a week, all right?
It's been a hell of a week for us. Hank Green really messed with us in the last 2 hours.
Yeah. I also learned that the last 5 weeks of episodes I've been recording with pneumonia. So
yeah, Tristan learned he's been coughing for the past many weeks of recording and just realized that he probably should not have been recording podcasts.
I probably should have seen a doctor, and so I finally did, and he was like, "Shit, man, you got pneumonia. Here is some nuclear antibiotics. please put them in your body. Go to the doctor if you feel sick. That's the trick.
We're gonna wring out every last drop of content from our bodies until we die. That is
until you're 90.
Until you're 90. Tristan also just watched Deadpool 3 for the first time.
No, it's the second time.
Well,
I watched it in theaters.
All right, fair enough.
All right.
You have just what's the word I'm looking for? You've revisited it.
Yes, it's very good.
It's on your mind again.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So today we're not going to go into the claim or the debunking, which we did very exhaustively in the last episode. Today we're going to talk about why somebody would believe that Atlantis or aliens made Göbekli Tepe.
You're setting me up for my new favorite soundboard clip that I added last week. Basically, what we're asking is something akin to this.
What if it were true?
What would make someone believe that? What if it were true?
Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today. And it goes. I'll be very. We're kind of also getting into the heart of some of the complicated origins of the field of archaeology and how it has grown into something more modern today, but also just the sort of ghosts that hang around a lot of our research and understanding of the past that lead to things like the Atlantis theories or the ancient aliens theories. So
love ghosts. Love when we talk about ghosts.
So let us do some hauntology, shall we?
Let's do it.
So first of all, let's talk about the fact that the ideas that are brought up by Graham Koch et al. Actually have their origins in a period of archaeology which we would just call basically the old origins of archaeology, specifically tied to colonialism. I think that we have treaded this territory a bunch on this show, but I think that's interesting to talk about how this is pseudo-archaeology and things like ancient astronaut theory and Graham Koch theory is is built on the sort of original sin of the origins of archaeology. I'll preface this by saying that this is not a slight on archaeology. I will say that this is a troublesome origin for the field that also very deeply affects the field of anthropology, which also struggles with this issue. And honestly, history, the field that I came from. So it is not an uncommon thing that all of these fields have troublesome origins that are rooted in nationalism and colonialism. And since then have evolved into respectable, efforts to find the truth and understand things. So archaeologists, you're not on blast here. I'm sure every archaeologist studies this in school, so they know about this shit anyway.
Yeah, so just to sort of like take the temperature of the room, like how are we feeling about colonialism and nationalism, just like as a concept level, how are we feeling about that? Just to put some feelers out there.
I gotta say, it seems like public opinion has been shifting in recent year. But generally, people consider colonialism bad, mostly because it is the systematic taking away of people's autonomy, conquering people, killing them, and forcing them to do horrible backbreaking labor in order to extract the resources of their own country in order to feed the industrial markets of white European countries. A problem that has left many, many countries underdeveloped, and to this day in a sort of resource curse where a bunch of mega foreign companies own the access to all of the riches of their country, and you'd think that they'd be the richest countries on earth, but they aren't because colonialism.
Because of colonialism. All right, yeah. So okay, so bad. We don't like it then. All right, yeah. I've heard that it's bad. And,
I have like this special place in my. I don't know if I brought this up on the show, but every few years, I just have like this special place deep in my like the pit of my heart for the Democratic Republic of Congo. And every so often, I'm like, I want to pack up my entire life and just do anything I can to help that country that has been so thoroughly fucked over by Westerners. But yeah, it is what it is. Colonialism is bad, and modern archaeology developed in a period where European colonialism was at its absolute height, and oftentimes was a tool for legitimizing their colonial domination over others. So fields like anthropology and ethnology also were influenced by colonial and racial attitudes at the time, because their goals were basically to try to establish why colonialism was good and why racial hierarchies existed.
I was gonna say it feels, and I've not read through all of your notes here of what we might talk about in this episode, but my immediate thought was just basically what you were saying, using it to justify racism. It feels like phrenology might pop up here in some capacity.
Well, phrenology basically was designed to do this similar purpose. I'd also add in that as a historian, the modern field of history also developed around this time, and the first sort of big history works were from the Annales school, which were these like long histories of like national identities, like big histories of the French or big histories of the British and stuff like that. And again, they were also nation building projects designed to legitimize the colonial project. So all those. So early archaeological.
Sounds like a fun episode. Sounds like a fun light episode.
This is like the episode that's oops, all Tristan makes you sad.
I should be constantly hitting the button, the music button for all the
sad music all the time.
Things. I will not, but just imagine it in your minds.
Yeah. So early archaeological practice was based around an assumed European superiority, and indigenous knowledge was always treated like it was kind of primitive superstitions. So this resulted in some of the early theories, and I remember I had to take this in like historical methodology too, where they developed these like theories that that civilizations evolved. Some of the figures like Lewis Henry Morgan or Edward Burnett Tyler had these like, this is the thing. If you ever play like a paradox game or any game with like a tech tree, you're going to notice some of this today, because these ideas, actually civilization as well, a lot of these ideas sort of are rooted in this project to try and justify colonialism. Because they talked about culture as evolving in a sort of linear hierarchical fashion, where there would be like stages like savagery and barbarism that would eventually lead to civilization.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah, and that's the reason why, despite my love for them, paradox games and like civilization do leave a kind of bitter taste in my mouth when it comes to, especially like, this is like this sort of is like, I think about like Europa Universalis 4. Have you heard of this game?
No.
Okay.
I don't play video games.
Trust me,
I'm
even people who play
sorry.
video games might not have heard of this game. It is a game for, I would say, turbo nerds.
Okay.
It is a game where you stare at a map of the world for hours and hours and hours. And people who really like this game have thousands of hours played in this game.
Okay.
Basically, it's a simulation of history from like about the 1400s until 1836. And in the very early versions of the game, they exemplified this kind of thinking in their technology system. Basically, different groups of people. So they had like, Western Europeans, Eastern Europeans, Ottomans, Muslims, like all of these different ones, all the way going to like Native Americans and stuff like that, all would just have like a flat modifier based on what culture they were that would affect how fast they developed technology points. So Europeans had 100%, like Eastern Europeans would have like 90%. And then you got all the way to like indigenous people in the Americas, and it was like 1% or something like that.
Cool. This sounds very good and not at all bad. Problematic.
And as a technology historian as well, I do have to say, like, I hate like this idea of us approaching technology like it is some kind of like system of progress and things always get better. It's always a web of discovery. Anyways.
Yeah.
So EU4 has since improved it somewhat. And I think that it for the better. But I'm sure that anybody can think of any strategy game that has these kinds of tech trees where technological superiority basically beats out over like other things. And like all of this has its, even like I made one of my most popular videos, which was based on the book 1491, where I make the case that indigenous, like the 1491 makes the case. I just made a video of it. Makes the case that indigenous people and like the people from Europe actually weren't that technologically different from each other. Like there was not like that much technical superiority. They just had a lot of sophistication in different things. So while the Europeans had like better weapons and boats, they couldn't make shoes worth a damn and like ended up having to trade valuable things for indigenous people's shoes. And indigenous people at that time were fucking geoengineering the entire continent and also completely changing and domesticating new species. Like the indigenous people were like burning down forests to intentionally grow the pasture land for wild buffalo so that their grazing area would be larger so that they would have more numbers for hunting grounds. Like at a level of like ecological thinking that Europeans would not have any concept of at that time.
Yeah.
And like,
absolutely. Like, yeah, because I guess to those Europeans, it didn't look like anything that they did. So to them, it didn't look like the same sort of, quote unquote, sort of technological progress that they would be accustomed to, that they would expect from their own culture, but on these indigenous cultures that they were, would you say colonizing? Would that be the word?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I feel like it was more just exterminating, but yeah.
Yep, that too.
But yeah, the indigenous people, but like indigenous Americans had a lot of very clever things. Like they had developed a really interesting form of agriculture that was designed to be very low maintenance.
Yeah.
Which Europeans wouldn't understand because the Europeans thought of farming where you till fields and grow crops. Indigenous people were like, if we burn down this part of forest at this time of year, we know that if we come back in this many months that there's going to be blueberry bushes that are just about ready for picking. Or they would have agriculture where they would have things like Three Sisters, where they would grow corn, beans, and squash in a sort of sequence around each other. And the way that it worked is that the corn would act as a sort of pole for the beans. The beans would then
climb up on. Yeah.
Yep. The beans would grow up around the corn, but also the beans nitrate the soil, which means that it feeds the corn. And then the squash have big, broad leaves that cover that cover the area around it so that no weeds can grow. you set this up properly, you just let that go away, come back, and you'll have food. Like that is sort of like
get some water, a little bit of broth, baby. You got a stew going.
Yeah, it's just like it's just very like this is something I could just talk about forever and is getting off topic, but it's just one of those things where like the way that we think about development is very broken. And in early archaeologists who were trying to justify basically like white supremacy and the colonization of the world were basically intentionally building these ideas that we now still take for granted today in a lot of cases. Just like War of the Worlds was basically like, what if we then found a more technologically advanced thing
I've
from
been
Mars?
sitting here this whole time being like, how can I work in War of the Worlds into this conversation? And you've beat me to it. Oh, now we're going to have beef. You're my new Hank Green.
Oh, man. But yeah, War of the Worlds was basically like somebody being like, hey, are we only like promoting these ideas because we're on top? What if somebody else did this to us? And like,
and then the humans in War of the Worlds don't win because we're better, because we're technologically advanced and we've got the bigger guns or whatever. We win just because the aliens didn't know about germs and then they die. We didn't do anything. It was just the nature, just the home that we live in protected us.
Yeah.
Oh, what a good story.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so like early archaeologists often when studying places in Africa or Asia or in the Americas would dismiss or misrepresent the achievements that were done there, usually trying to talk about lost white races. And then later on, even aliens in like sort of like, the 20th century, early 20th century about. So this is where like Atlantis became very popular because it was a way to explain a sort of lost white civilization that then seeded all of these. It was, while it was never like, something that was 100% accepted by the field, this was like a very powerful idea in early archaeology because it was sort of at the core of the project they were going for. Keep in mind that also this period was a time where there was a lot of attempts to use science to develop theories about racial hierarchies and racial development capacity. So like, for example, one of the terms that we still use today where we break down our civilization into what kind of tools we use, like the idea of like the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, that kind of thing. Yeah. Also implies like a single linear evolution, and also means that they can call other civilizations that don't utilize the same things as slower down. So like, for example, when the Europeans come to America, they find out that the Americans are still using like napped stone and stuff like that, even though it's, it's efficient, it works, it suits their lifestyle. But because they're just not utilizing metal, it's therefore like that is primitive. Despite the fact that we've already even talked on this show about how like napping obsidian made blades that were far better than anything that metal could provide, to the point where obsidian is still used in some forms of surgery today. So like,
that is interesting. The amount we've talked about the Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age on this show, I've never really put that together, that it sort of is a almost like prescriptive view of how civilizations should do. Like that is how all civilizations are meant to progress. And obviously that's not the case. This reminds me of, did you ever watch The West Wing?
I have watched a few seasons of it, yes.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not going to speak on the whole show. It's very Aaron
Sorkin being him.
It's very liberal and like, oh, we can all just work together. But there is at least one episode where they entertain some people who are talking about how like the way that we view the map of Earth creates a lot of this similar sort of hierarchy, like the fact that we view it the way we do, where it's just like yeah, think about everything in the northern hemisphere feels like it's like on top, right? Even subconsciously, like that's the on top. America and Europe and Asia is like on top, and then everything in the, that is, when we view it this way, below feels, can feel, again, like subconsciously, like inferior in a similar way, which is obviously not fair. And so it's just sort of this idea of like, even just the way that we talk about things, the literal way that we look at the world can have these sort of similar side effects.
Yeah.
So I've always thought that was at least interesting.
Yeah, this shows just how deeply ingrained these ideas are. I even looking at this, the first thing that comes to mind I always remember is that iron isn't a better metal than bronze, actually.
Yeah.
Iron is actually the only thing that makes iron a better metal than bronze is that it's not an alloy, so it's more plentiful. And like, because the whole thing about bronze, the Bronze Age, the only reason that they were able to do it is because bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. And copper and tin are from very different places. So in order to make bronze, you had to trade over long distances. And also then when you made the bronze, if you made it into weapons and armor, it would be very, 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 very expensive to the point where only a very small elite could actually wear it. So in the Bronze Age, because of that, you had a lot of these very top-heavy civilizations with powerful central leadership, like ancient Egypt, right? But you had like a lot of these all across the Mediterranean world. But when that sort of trade relationship broke down and their sources of bronze started to fall apart, they kind of failed. But also at the same time, iron started to become more of a used form of weaponry and armor, and it is good enough. It's not quite as good as bronze, but it's good enough. But the thing is that it's cheap and plentiful, and so it was just easier for like any kind of group of people to do it. And then the places that had really good iron were the ones that became the powerful civilizations, like the Greeks, for example, because like Sparta, for example, has very good steel or very good iron. And like, and then you have some interesting stuff like how, anyways, it's a whole thing. But yeah, like that's another example of that kind of thing.
Yeah, iron sucks is basically what we're saying.
Until you can make steel.
Shit.
Until steel becomes like steel beats bronze, but iron is not steel. Steel is like, again, there's metallurgy involved in that and stuff like that.
And then of course, next in the hierarchy is jet fuel beats steel.
Oh, that triggers some. I kind of want to get one more in because this is another one of my more spicy takes from that 1491 video that's really cool, and I think that
please shield me from my 9/11 joke.
Yes, and that is that probably until sometime in the 19th century, guns were not as good as bow and arrows. And I know that sounds insane, but it's true.
I've played Tomb Raider before. Bows and arrows are quiet. You can get the ammo from the body again and use it. It's more efficient in the economy of the game.
Yeah. I need to play. I haven't played Tomb Raider since like the PSX era.
I like the modern games, but I haven't played the third one, so I can't speak to that.
Okay. Well, I want to justify what I'm saying here though. Because
please do.
Because in the way that like how iron wasn't a better metal than bronze when it comes to like, performance, but it was more plentiful and it was easier for regular people to get a hold of. For to use a bow, you have to be a very, very, like, to be an archer is a very, very hard skill. It takes a lot of upper body strength. It takes a lot of training to be really good at it. But if you can do that, the longbow, the compound bow is an extremely powerful weapon that is way more accurate at a longer distance and can do way more damage than your typical firearm. But you can teach a peasant to fire a gun in like an afternoon.
Yeah.
The whole thing that like made the gun sort of beat the bow and arrow is that it's not a specialized skill to be able to stand in a line and shoot somebody. but it takes years and years and years to be a very good archer. So, and this is obviously until the invention of rifling, which happened in like the 19th century, which made guns a lot more accurate and sort of changed everything. But that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
So that's another.
We keep getting sidetracked.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. These are fun things. Another thing that archaeology in its early years was used to do was to make claims about ancient sites used to justify land appropriation. So very often this was used to either claim that Europeans were the original owners of certain lands, or that that the people who lived on the land had somehow like no real historical claim to it. You might have heard examples of like people trying to say, like, there's some pseudo-archaeology stuff about how like, oh, we found bones of white people in ancient America because Europeans came to America first or something. It's complete horseshit. You also see it in things like the sort of like they would make claims that, you know, Native Americans weren't using the land they lived on. They were living these like, you know, hunter-gatherer lifestyles. The term hunter-gatherer was like, you know, kind of part of this.
Yeah.
And it was so it was used to justify the exploitation of land and taking land from people because they're not using it. They're only like, you know, coming through it like a few times a year.
Yeah.
And
it's sort of like, what do you mean this mountain, you call it 6 grandfathers? We see 4 forefathers. This is ours. If you actually look at it, it looks just like a couple presidents of ours. Mount Rushmore. I'm making a Rushmore.
I can't wait until my favorite part of the next few years is when Donald Trump puts his face on there. I feel like you know how like in the sort of meaner times for people, we used to train dogs to be housebroken by like rubbing their nose when they shit on the floor.
Yeah,
I think that maybe we need to do that to you guys a little bit, and you just need to have Donald Trump's stupid fucking face on your Mount Rushmore and like a giant gaudy statue of him in Washington D.C.
Can I say I am absolutely shocked he's not on some kind of actual money. Now he's tried to be on crypto and NFTs and things like that, but I am absolutely shocked that he has not tried to put his face on.
There was a brief attempt to try and get Charlie Kirk on the money, which I thought was insane, but I don't think that lasted very long. But yeah, so like the idea that like a lot of these early archaeologists would do is that they would try to say that these people were, quote, primitive races that were locked in some kind of developmental stasis. You know, they weren't developing, they weren't getting more scientific, they weren't learning how to build houses and farm and, you know, do those things. Instead, they were having a horrible time doing a lot less work every day, but getting the same amount of calories and living a much more, actually a much more healthy diet and having like a better, stronger culture. It's like a better, stronger family unit.
Terrible.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible. Doing less work to have a better, stronger culture.
They had like a very,
fine.
They had a very complex family structure that of like kind of like familial bonds and kinship bonds. And yeah, their average day consisted of way less work, but their diet was a lot more like they used to the Europeans would write about how the indigenous people, they're unnaturally beautiful and super tall. They're like from another land. And the indigenous people it's because
how many sausages must they have eaten?
Yeah.
How many sausages can I eat to be this beautiful?
Yeah, and the reason is because the indigenous people ate vegetables and like.
Are you sure it just wasn't sausages? I've heard it's sausages. I must eat more sausages.
These people.
In my mind, a lot of British people eat just sausages all the time.
In this time, though, they wouldn't have been able to have sausages. That's too expensive. They would have just eaten bread like all the time.
Bread. All right.
Bread and pottage, which is just like kind of random vegetables and herbs cooked in a pot until it's mush. You
got a stew going, baby.
It's certainly something. It's kind of whatever you got boiled until it's mush. So like, for example, the mound builder myth, the whole idea that like, you know, that a civilization came before indigenous people that was definitely white or from Atlantis, The ones that Gramcock goes and visits in person and claims were done by a different civilization in Ancient Apocalypse, were part of the mound builder myth, where they claim that indigenous people couldn't have built sophisticated earthworks and attributed them to a vanished white race. That part gets disappeared from Ancient Apocalypse, but whatever. Then you also have this theory in Africa that posited that any sign of civilization, such as Great Zimbabwe, was the work of non-black Hamitic people and not the local population.
Cool.
And when you point out that some of the pharaohs were black, they get they also got kind of upset. Yeah. And then, so contemporary archaeology is obviously still I want to emphasize, and I'm saying, because I know that most archaeologists who are listening to this are aware of all of this history. But I want to say to those who are fans of archaeology who haven't taken archaeology in university, this is not me shitting on them. Archaeologists know this. They write extensively how it is still a problem in the field, and how and they actively work to overcome it and do responsible, rigorous scientific work today. And I think that they do. I think like every field, they have their biases and their struggles, but I think that it's still there is still a ongoing colonial influence in archaeology. But I do think that it is still it's still it's a very legit, obviously we I feel like we have done hundreds of episodes, over 100 episodes now, of talking about singing the praises of archaeologists.
Absolutely.
So and I know archaeologists who are listening that we're kind of airing your dirty laundry, but I also know that you know this stuff. This is talked about. If you had a second year archaeology class where you're talking about the history of archaeology, this is all over that class, and it's something they know.
Right. Absolutely. It is not a bad thing to recognize the faults or the biases of the thing, just things like that you need to keep in mind when you're doing this sort of research. It is not a fault to acknowledge those things, nor is it a fault on the field in its entirety, as long as you are recognizing these biases and proceeding forward with that in mind.
Yep. So in the field of archaeology, they try to call this process decolonizing its methods. But
okay, hold on, wait, just like a little feeler out here. What do we feel about decolonization?
Good for, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good. That one's good, and the other one is bad.
Yep.
All right, cool.
If you guys if you ever get confused, maybe you can put it on your hand. You could put on one hand decolonization good and the other one colonization bad. Those are my next two tattoos, I think.
Just so you never forget, in case it comes up.
It's just be and decolonization, a process that we believe is good.
Good. We like that one.
Yeah. But because sometimes archaeology fails to fully engage and decolonize its methods, sometimes alternative explanations that are rooted in sensationalism or falsehoods can find fertile ground in gaps left by traditional scholarship. And contemporary archaeologists work to critically examine and seek to decolonize their methods and theories to resist both the discipline's colonial legacies and the danger that comes up from pseudo-archaeology. So this has been, the work of centering indigenous knowledge systems, engaging descendant communities directly, and challenging historical power imbalances in their interpretation and practice. It's hard work, but it's necessary work, and it is making the field better off for it. So,
absolutely,
yeah,
I love it. Keep it up.
Now,
keep it up, mainstream archaeologists. This is what they say when they say mainstream archaeologists. But what they're really saying is the woke archaeologists are saying that it was probably people from these cultures who created these artifacts and cool sites and things like that. That's the woke scientists. That's the woke archaeologists saying that, all right? Mm-hmm. Not the cool archaeologists. What did you call them? Pseudo-archaeologists? I think pseudo just means cool archaeologists.
Yeah, let's talk about those people. Because pseudo-archaeology has an entire history of its own kind of in parallel with it. embracing the most sensational ideas that the field of archaeology has brought up. And then as archaeology grew up and became a mature science, the pseudo-archaeologists have basically clung to the same ideas that they were embracing in the 1880s and have attracted people who have mindsets that are stuck in the 1880s. So, for example, the sort of first big, like, Graham Cox, like, intellectual founder was a guy named Ignatius Donnelly, who in 1882, we've talked about this before, 1882 wrote a book called Atlantis and the Antediluvian World, which established the template claiming that there was a white survivors of an ancient civilization that taught indigenous people how to move big dirt or to how to move big rock.
Hold on. Wait. I've got it. I have to be faster on the draw. I recognize that.
How do you move it?
Yeah.
There it is.
So Ignatius Donnelly asked, how do you move it? And wrote a whole book about how obviously white people are how you move it. Because they like to move it.
They sure do like to move it, Tristan.
Yep.
That's a good point.
It then also got promoted. The Ignatius Donnelly idea then got promoted by a little country called Nazi Germany in the Third Reich. We've gone over this extensively, but yeah, like Atlanta. Oh, those Nazis.
Oh no.
The Third Reich did have a whole like nation building project where they used pseudo-archaeology, specifically the Atlantis theory, as evidence for Aryan racial superiority and sort of Nordic racial origins to sort of show how this Aryan race that they were making up was basically like you could take credit for like all of the major accomplishments of history. And it continues to times like, say, there's a guy named Frank Joseph, whose real name is Frank Collin, who is the editor of a major pseudoscientific magazine. He wrote a lot of like, books on Atlantis and sort of the idea of like the sort of ideas that the Graham Cock adjacent theories. But he also happened to have had an interesting job where he was the Midwest coordinator for the American Nazi Party.
Oh no.
Jeez. Yeah.
I'm hitting all my soundboard buttons today.
Yeah, Frank Joseph also founded the National Socialist Party of America and became infamous for organizing a planned Nazi march in Skokie, Illinois. So shout out to all of our listeners in Skokie.
Shout out to all of you
who did not participate.
Unless you're Frank Joseph, is he still alive?
Frank Joseph's career had a little bit of a change though after 1979, where he got convicted of child molestation. Okay.
Come on, man.
It's always
How many times do I have to hit these buttons? It's so I don't even have a button bad enough for that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, sorry, that one got stuck up on us.
Yeah.
But yeah, at which point, after he had that conviction, he left Nazism behind and just became a New Age author. And that's when he started going by the name Frank Joseph. And started went to pure pseudo-archaeology. He is like the living embodiment. He seems to be like the storyline of like how you get to ancient aliens, like starting with Nazis and then just very quickly change your name and get rid of all of the Nazi branding, but keep like the New Age and call yourself New Age. And then
New Age is a different way of saying it.
Yeah, so that's, and like I said, 1979 was when he made that pivot. But yeah, like there's still and today a lot of the focus, I mean, you've now listened to 100 and something episodes of this show at this point and know that there's a lot of stuff that it's all about basically claiming that non-European achievements required outside help, and then exempting the European accomplishments for the same thing. And so this, as we've talked about, this is kind of me going into a lot of the stuff that we talk about at the end of our shows, that this whole pseudo-archaeology then becomes this, and it's documented that it has been then used as like the sort of first gateway drug to getting yourself into white supremacist movements. Because it mythologizes the past, it develops it gets you into conspiracy thinking, and those two things are the first stepping stones towards white supremacist thinking. These also tend to support exclusionary ideologies, amplify existing grievances, which then serve to further engage with more white supremacist and right-wing extremist communities. They will do things like extremist organizations, like, these groups will have online forums, media, online social venues where pseudo-archaeological concepts are introduced as part of their framework, because they are just such a popular way for people to start their first journey. And they oftentimes will use things like these are forbidden truths, and that they undermine mainstream archaeologists.
Mainstream archaeologists.
Exactly. Which then turns you against institutions, makes you feel alienated, in which case they can then bring you into their movement and be like, hey, good thing. Did you know that you having oddly small pigment cells in your skin makes you a better person for some reason? And people are just like, that fucking rules. Sign me up.
Yeah. Oh, me having done nothing makes me better than everyone else. That sounds awesome, actually. Sign me up for that.
Yeah. I don't get it all the time, but I don't know if it comes across in the lighting here, but I oftentimes get considered swarthy, I think is one of the terms that's been used.
Swarthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I very often get confused, like, by Arabs oftentimes will think that I am an Arab and start talking to me in Arabic without even asking.
That's fascinating. I didn't know this about you. This is good lore.
Yeah. As someone who kind of is just like what I call like the number 2 number on the toaster. She's just like, even then I'd be considered outside of the, I'm not a fucking glowing, I guess, enough for these people. And
that's incredible. I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah. Comes from my dad, who, like, I think they did like a DNA thing, and there's like some really distant North African ancestor, I guess. I don't know. But
wild.
I even said that once to my boss. My boss, she's Arab. She's an Arab, and she was just like, "Are you sure that there's not a relative?" That's I'm like, because because she's like, and the skin and the hair, and like it's like okay, yeah.
That's fascinating. No, I am as white as could be. No one's ever questioned my race or ethnicity or anything.
Sometime I'm gonna accidentally, like, people are gonna think that I do not look like, or that I'm not my son's father, because he's got all of his mom's genes, so he's just like the whitest, blondest, blue-eyed kid. He's adorable. I love him so much. But yeah. Anyways,
well, according to these people, I think that means that he's better than everyone else. According to these
I do for different reasons, but that's a different thing. Because he's my baby.
He's your baby.
Yep. The other part about this is that like conspiracy belief, if you want to go into like the psychology of it, there's this whole thing. I feel like everyone's heard of Kahneman and like the System 1 and System 2 thinking, which is like, we human brains it would be basically paralyzing for us to intentionally think through everything all the time. So we develop heuristics, which are sort of like a term for like mental shortcuts to make life tolerable or able to do. But conspiracy theories, in the techniques that we talk about, like kind of like the showing things to you really fast and like all these implications, they exploit our fast intuitive thinking and often rely on like emotional language and like those kinds of things or associations to bypass deliberative analysis. So they are deliberately trying to trigger that sort of System 1 thinking and get around your System 2 thinking. And to be honest, a lot of sales tactics are designed to do the exact same thing, to get you to not think too much about what you're doing. There are multiple cognitive biases like pattern perception, proportionality bias, agency detection, confirmation bias, that are all ways that we employ these heuristics in a way that then is detrimental to understanding. And
it's got me thinking, Tristan. I think I'm gonna ruminate on this, and then at the end of the podcast, I'm gonna try to use some of these Ancient Aliens techniques to sell people on supporting the show on Patreon and Nebula. So I'm gonna ruminate on this. It's got me thinking.
Ruminate away.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, the other thing too is just that like, and this is the part that like makes me extremely sad for humanity and like how we work. It's also just like pattern recognition means that like we can be normalized to things just by even things that we disagree with, just by exposing yourself to it over and over and over again. Like you can feel more comfortable with a idea that you fundamentally disagree with if you just hear it over and over and over and over again. Which is why I tend not to, like in my YouTube videos, I tend not to make like, you know, the sort of video response, like Ben Shapiro is dumb about this. Not that your review is very funny.
Who would do that? Who would ever do that? That's a bad video idea. Which wouldn't be me.
It's not so much like the actual content of it. It's just the fact that like I would not feel comfortable exposing myself to those videos that much.
No, I am 100% in agreement. I only did the Ben Shapiro one because I knew without much research, I knew how much he was wrong, and because it was just in specifically my
when
my
Ben
lane.
Shapiro comes from the Superman, you are definitely ready to go.
I can take him down. But yeah, I agree that for years there have been, you know, reaction videos to the Ben Shapiros of the world and all these other grifters on the right, and I have always felt like how do those people, how do like the people on the left who are watching so much stuff on the right to react to, how do they do it? Because to me, it would just be, number one, infuriating. Number two, just like make me feel gross. And like, I hadn't even like considered the fact that what you're saying of just like repeated exposure to it could have some kind of effect. I'm sure, you know, fingers crossed if you're, stalwart enough in your own beliefs that doesn't happen. But I don't know. To me, I'm just like, how do they do it? How do they do it so often? It just feels gross.
I would argue though that we have that like, I've kind of chirped about. Oh wait, Americans don't say chirp. I've kind of like griped about this on various social media platforms about how like I think that like this repeated exposure to that content has resulted in a culture of like sort of in like left-wing response content. Like I think that we've seen like some of the tactics that benefit the right and stuff that like plays their game and gives them a lot more of acknowledging of their ideas than they deserve. Specifically, basically like debates, like the political debate sphere.
Yeah.
It to me, it's like you are like that. Like that is the thing that is the thing they introduced, and it was specifically to normalize their ideas. There's a whole history of it going back to like the neoliberals of like the 1970s who actively would like put on debates in order to make their ideas, which were insane in the 1960s, considered more normal.
Seem rational.
And then
that's fair. I for sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was just thinking also, I don't know how familiar you are with the Young Turks, but like, I feel like 10 years ago, they were a very progressive platform.
Oh yeah, they've gone fucking crazy.
They've gone absolutely nut job, gonzo bonkers recently. And all the people they were criticizing, like Tucker Carlson and how Tucker Carlson's bad, which he is. I don't like Tucker Carlson. He's a racist and a bigot in all means, and I don't like him. But now the people in the Young Turks who used to criticize Tucker Carlson are like, I just want to sit down and have dinner with Tucker Carlson and just sort of talk, because I kind of like him and I think he's like not a bad guy. And it's like you were criticizing him like 5 years ago, and you just kept reacting to him so much that you probably just kept he's sunk in there like a little brain worm. So yeah, I can see that.
And Matt just put out a video recently about how the right uses the sort of some of like the intellectual cores of like the liberal mindset to get a platform that is very deferential and normalizes their ideas, which then they can get more things to do. there's a really famous case, and I think that this is like the best thing whenever talking about debate culture or like the online political debate things, when you're ever debating its usefulness. There was this British sort of like debate kind of show, and one of the days, like as a lark, they had a British fascist on the show to talk about his ideas. And he went on, had a panel of like 5 other people, and they demolished him. His ideas were completely systematically destroyed in front of everybody. He looked like an idiot on the television. And afterwards, recruitment in the Nazi party or the fascist party in Britain went up by like a huge percentage. So yeah, learn from that what you will before you watch a video by Jubilee or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So the last thing too is
sorry to keep derailing us.
No, it's all good. It's all good. There's also a sort of media ecosystem thing that we need to talk about, because I think one of the other things that extremism has that we can think of, or like the sort of like the pseudo-archaeology videos can, like the thing that makes them a stepping stone to further and further right stuff, is that we now have a normalized media ecosystem where content is designed to show you a different variation on the things that you have shown an interest in, to the point where you are finding yourself being dragged to more and more extreme versions of these things. You know, you're watching a gaming video and then somebody talks about Gamergate, and then, you know, before long you are really, really misogynistic and talking about how you can chew rubber balls to make your chin or something bigger. And then at some point you're like literally like a neo-Nazi. And this,
look, all the straightest guys I know always have balls in their mouth, Tristan. All right? All the straightest guys I know always have balls in their mouth.
God, it's so
all right?
weird.
How dare you make fun of the straight guys with the balls in their mouth, Tristan?
You can tell that like all of the like looks maxing incel people have never talked to women in their lives, because like,
yeah,
if you talked to straight women about what they like, the bar is so low that like if you want women to go out with you, you just have to like wear a shirt with buttons on it and smell nice, and like that is like most of like,
you just have to look, yeah, you just have to look like you can take care of yourself, so that you can at least come across like you can, you know, be a decent person and let you care and like be kind and just, I don't know. It's so, the bar is so low, everyone.
yeah, with
Tristan and I are both married.
Yeah.
That's how low
my
the
10th
bar
anniversary.
is. I don't mean to drag you into this.
No.
Mean.
I'm an absolute slob and somehow I'm married. I don't know. But I remember talking about this because like, I actually got to have a conversation with some of the YouTube algorithm people a number of years back. And they talked about what they called the Gangnam Style algorithm, which was that like in like around Gangnam Style time, what they used to do was like, if you watched a video, they would then show you a more popular video that is based on the sort of space you're in. And they found that if you did that on a long enough timeline, all video tracks led to Gangnam Style.
All roads lead to Gangnam Style.
Yeah. But they inverted that. And then they were like, well, what if like we actually like you watch something and we showed you variations, especially more obscure stuff? Because like, no, if you're interested in a topic, you're going to want more obscure stuff about it. But what that resulted in, because this algorithm started up around 2014, 2015, was that if you were like getting in, like it would start radicalizing you and pushing you to more radical content. And it is the reason why like all of the sort of right-wing manosphere stuff started blowing up in 2015.
That sucks. I thought it was kind of interesting what you were saying though, because I'm sure that's at least part of their algorithm still, because I will just, you know, I have like random videos that pop up in my feed that like 82 people have watched total, that are just like someone doing a run in Balatro, and I'm like, I will watch this. Yes, please. Thank you. Like, you know my interests. I don't care if it's popular. If this is a fun video, I'll watch this fun video. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's about as like when the algorithm wants to give me like the more sort of niche fringe stuff. It's mostly just that. It's mostly just that, and I don't know, like DaVinci Resolve tutorials about specific fusion nodes that I've never heard of. So
my YouTube main page has been so fucking borked by the fact that all the YouTubers, or a lot of the YouTubers that I watch the most religiously, are now all on Nebula, and I watch them on there. And so now it's like trying to give me other things, because it's trying to like, what the hell do you want anymore? Why do you like be consistent?
Oh yeah, my entire shorts suggestions is just Lego. Now it is just videos about Lego. So, and I'm sure in like 3 or 4 months that'll change to something else again, maybe magic tricks. I'm always into close-up magic, but right now it's just all Lego.
Reminds me that Kelly wanted some Lego for Christmas. Okay.
I have a lot of suggestions if you want to hit me up.
She saw these like Lego flowers that she wanted.
I was literally going to say Lego botanicals. Get Lego botanicals. You can't go wrong. They're so cute.
She wanted a bunch of those.
They're cute. And Tristan, not to derail us even further, because we only have like a couple more minutes to do this, but that's fine. I can stay a little bit longer. The Lego botanicals are praised by hardcore Lego fans because they use really interesting building techniques. So it's not just that they look pretty, they're fun to build. They're great.
All right. Well, I guess
I don't have any, but
yeah. But yeah, so like YouTube, like there's even like a story on how like anti-medical science stuff, to the point where like doctors were being threatened, happened in Brazil. And like you can actually see the increase in these threats tied to the time when YouTube changed their algorithm there. And might have been responsible for the electing of Jair Bolsonaro.
Come on, YouTube.
Yeah, man.
What are you doing, Mr. Beast?
Yeah, it did a lot of damage, gotta say. But yeah, like the thing is that also production quality is increased because Netflix will make pseudo-archaeology documentaries, and because it has like the high-polished documentary style with all of the drone footage, but also, even in a smaller sense, because of drones and prosumer equipment, it's easier to make like a professional looking documentary without that much money or a team, which will give your work more credence. And also like not even mentioning about how much shit I've seen on TikTok that is like about pseudo-archaeology and is just straight up shit from Sora. Like which is like, oh my God, like I don't know who's buying this, but okay.
Jesus.
Not to mention parasocial relationships, long form podcast formats like the Joe Rogan, who is the conservative, it's probably not aliens, will create these longer podcasts, create emotional bonds with people and use it to promote conspiracies. And also a lot of these people are doing consistent transmedia reinforcement, and transmedia is not as fun as it sounds. It's basically just like having a show and a book of them and all that. And just like basically everything that has to do with like revenue models based around engagement results in people wanting to make more provocative, more emotionally big kind of stuff that conspiracy content excels at. Because saying something insane will get you a lot more engagement than saying that the insane thing is incorrect. And on top of that, and I think we've talked about this before, how like in America specifically, and we're kind of like, you're kind of like reaping the rewards of this right now.
Here he goes. Tristan loves to say, oh, look at America. Look at what America is
I have
doing.
to justify the fact that I have a master's degree in American cultural studies somehow, okay?
Here he goes.
America has in its cultural identity an idea called frontier individualism, which valorizes individual skepticism over institutional authority, which results in a lot more cultural cachet going to individual mavericks who fight the system, usually with new ideas that tend to be wrong. Furthermore, the fields that research these things systematically and with rigor are considered part of an elite, an educated elite, and there is a historical anti-elitist populism in the US that is against elites of all kinds, including people who are educated and experts, and that has led to attack on that.
A lot of conversations about that over the last maybe decade. Yeah.
There's also this thing called American exceptionalism, the belief that America is unique in its national destiny, which creates something called status anxiety, because when you believe that your country is special and that it is the best country in the world, it means that you constantly think that its founding ideals are under attack, and you feel much more anxious about the state of the country, the state of the world. And oftentimes it's used to make fears about losing that prestigious position, which makes people internalize threats from existential dangers, which heightens people's belief in, like, that there's going to be like a movement that's trying to take us all down or exploit. And so conspiracies can exploit these by making simple explanations or scapegoats that you can then blame as like the source of like the threat to the status. Right. And then Americans are much more likely to latch onto it, because there's this idea that there's like, if you're like the best, then there's people all around, like groups all around you that are trying to take you down.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, Tristan, just think about it. Freedom, liberty, democracy. These are the words I grew up hearing.
Is there going to be a 2028 election? And also, how many people were fired for making a Charlie Kirk joke? Let's see.
These are all these are the terms that I grew up hearing, just basically divorced from any context, to tell me how great America is. You know how great America is? Freedom and liberty.
How when America became independent, specifically the state you live in, Virginia, how much of the population of that state was free or liberty?
At least some, Tristan. Look, we don't look to the past except for the people who want to make things back to how they used to be. Those people look to the past. So most of I guess a lot of people do. I don't.
If you want a concrete example of like the status anxiety resulting in conspiracy theories that feed into these sort of narratives, the Great Replacement is probably the best example, where there's like, it's a conspiracy theory that like the non-whites are trying to outbreed the whites and replace everybody, which is insane. But it is based on this like sort of status anxiety aspect, that there's these like foreign hordes that are trying to do something.
Yeah, I cannot believe how relevant the Great Replacement theory still is. Yep. Like, you would think, well, I mean, I don't know. It's so hard in this day and age to be like, hey, that's like extremely racist. And then for people to be like, and still stand by it. It's wild to me, but this is the world we live in. I'm sure it's gone through a couple rebrands here and there. Like, it's literally still a thing that people are talking about in different words. If they're not specifically calling it the Great Replacement.
The thing though is that also this comes from like anti-statist traditions in America. There's a distrust of government institutions, which makes receptivity, but it's also why you see conspiracies thrive in marginalized communities and also under dictatorships. Like, it's not like a secret that, like, for example, conspiracies are very popular in the Black community in the United States because there's a long historical distrust of the United States government for very good reasons. And also conspiracy theories thrive in like places like countries that are under dictatorships, because they know the informational the informational infrastructure is corrupted, and so rumors and stuff like that are really all you have to go on. So now for the part where I make you sad. It seems like this is the whole episode, but yeah. Just a few quick things. Like, this is leading to, I feel like I wrote this and now I'm like, this feels quaint, just like given the last little bit, but like, we have seen an erosion of evidence-based policies. I feel like that's like globally, but in the US, like I don't even know if evidence even is even is considered in policy anymore.
Nah.
Feelings
don't care about your facts.
Yeah. The same logical patterns from ancient aliens, like experts hiding the truth and evidence being suppressed and alternative explanations being more plausible, lead to things like election fraud conspiracy beliefs, like say 2020. This leads to a broader erosion of trust in universities, government agencies, professional organizations that kind of are necessary for functioning democracy, and it leads to political violence. One example is that there is some interesting connections between pseudo-archaeology consumers, like people who watch these things, and the January 6th demonstrators. So, like, for example, conspiracy theories like QAnon were pretty popular amongst the people who were at January 6th. And a lot of
Can I ask, is QAnon still a thing?
There are still hangers on, yeah, but
why?
Yeah. But yeah, like the thing is like the QAnon symbols and rhetoric directly had like resulted in like the violent action that happened at the Capitol building, like an attempted coup that we just sort of forgot about.
Yep.
So like it's a thing that shows how conspiracy theories can sort of move you in the direction of like violent action.
That is wild that it's not talked about more.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of crazy. Another few things, just I'm trying to go through fast, like vaccine hesitancy has its roots in those exact same ideas. The idea of like suppressing evidence about ancient aliens can just transfer to medical experts are suppressing evidence about the dangers of vaccines. Not even talking about COVID-19's response sabotage, like the COVID-19 conspiracy theories, to the point where now I was very, very scared of the bird flu epidemic that was going around, because if that had crossed over to humans and we ended up in another pandemic today, we would not be able to handle it. We would not be able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like alternative medicine, to the point where you guys have a anti-vaxxer who carried the head of a whale in his car as your enemy.
Don't remind me. I don't like him.
Tylenol causing autism or whatever. Oh my God.
Can I? This will be out by the time I've announced that Emily and I are having a kid. So surprise. If you're learning this, every time Emily has to take Tylenol, she verbally out loud, like as she's getting it from the bottle, is like, I mean, I just gotta give him more autism. I'm suffering right now. Sorry, you're gonna have more autism. I'm sorry.
If that's the case, then you definitely are gonna have to become aware of paradox games, because
yeah.
You know what? The paradox people, they know.
They're aware.
But yeah, the other case, climate change, was like the fight against doing anything to fight climate change, basically also used discrediting of experts and scientific consensus to advance material interests, specifically the material interest of continuing to pump new carbon into the atmosphere that had been sequestered in the earth for millions of years. And let's see, the teachers' authorities have been disruptive, because like education is being underfunded and teachers are being blamed for all sorts of insane stuff. Not to mention, like, it seems like half of your states are like just removing like the libraries now, because like a book had like a gay in it or something. I don't know.
If a book has a gay in it, throw it out. Burn the whole library. Toss the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah, I don't know what's going on most of the time in my own country, but I have a feeling it's like, if I had to give a vibe check, it would be not good. Almost anything that is good, it's not. I mean,
good. I'm not going to like say that like this is not unique to the United States. We did have a bunch of anti-vax.
Are you sure? I just learned about American exceptionalism, so I think actually we're pretty exceptional at being the worst.
Like we had anti-lockdown, anti-vax people literally occupy our capital city for like weeks.
Okay, but also just like, but Americans did it better, right? Like we did it worse better.
Hard to
Tristan, I need to maintain the status quo. I'm scared.
I will say they did like most of them had like their like they got arrested and they got like charged with all sorts of crimes and stuff. So I guess I feel like the January 6th protesters did not have something like that happen. So
yeah. Number 1, baby, we're on top yet again.
Yeah. So what should we do about this is the bigger thing. And
oh, I have a button for that too.
Yeah, man. The first thing that you need to do is like you need to start looking out for your friends and family. There's behavioral patterns.
I'm trying. We're trying so hard to give our little one autism. We're trying.
Yeah, you really need to like you need to really see the look for like the patterns indicating conspiracy consumption, like distrust about multiple institutions, regardless of where they are. So like multiple different domains of institutions, specialized conspiracy vocabulary, social isolation from non-believers, and the main thing that I will say is that the important thing is to not do the thing that we're doing, which is like confrontational fact checking that actually backfires for the most part. The more successful strategy is actually to maintain open communication and encourage engagement with diverse information and sources, and also to help them maintain and keep those social connections outside of the conspiracy theory circle, because if they lose those connections, that's when they go further down the rabbit hole and become more extreme. And honestly, just trying, if you have the patience for it, obviously, to just try to get them to engage with alternate ideas that are based in reality. And like it can take, like literally it can take hundreds of exposures and interactions like this to happen. There's a really great book by Adrienne Black. She is the daughter of Don Black, who is the founder of Stormfront. She was a like neo-Nazi, like had neo-Nazi, like was like the host of a neo-Nazi like racist radio show, like straight up, not even like not like alt-right or whatever, like literal Nazis. And she wrote a memoir about how she got out of that life, and that it was like people specifically making the effort to contact, reach out, and help her build those connections outside of like outside of their the sort of white supremacist bubble. And it took dozens of interactions to hundreds of interactions by very patient, very kind people, but she eventually clawed her way out. And that is sort of the thing that we can do to those that we care enough about to try and get them to do that. Try to see what they're watching, see what's being recommended to them, and also provide constructive channels for curiosity about history, science, and current events through, podcasts, maybe.
Podcasts,
YouTube
channels.
Other types of podcasts, YouTube videos of
other
podcasts.
Podcast videos of YouTube channels. Gosh, I'm sure there's at least a book about it.
Yeah, listen to the podcast Why It's Never Aliens. That kind of thing. And yeah, just sort of try to realize that recommendation algorithms are fucking with your head, and try to push for that to be better whenever you can. And just do what you can to push for long-term. Like at the moment, it's just like we need to get away from like it's a lot of these solutions are like they're political solutions, or they're like we need to find some way to force people to make some rules about recommendation algorithms, or else like we're just going to keep ending up in this situation. But but the main thing that you can do is send people to
is this where
Probs Not Aliens.
I've been ruminating on this.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on, Tristan. I've been ruminating
Room
on
away.
This. Did you know that mainstream podcast listeners don't listen to this podcast? Mainstream podcast listeners, they like other podcasts, but some very special other listeners have different opinions, and they actually like this podcast. And in fact, most mainstream listeners don't support this show on Patreon and Nebula at patreon.com/probsnotaliens and nebula.tv/probablynotaliens. Mainstream podcast listeners, all right, they don't like to get episodes early and bonus content. But other listeners, they believe in other ideas, like supporting this show on Nebula and Patreon and getting bonus episodes and episodes early and all those things that I said. So I'm just throwing it out there, all right? I'm not saying the mainstream people are bad. I'm just saying there are other non-mainstream listeners that they got some thoughts, they got some opinions.
Yeah.
And they also follow us at probsnotaliens on Blue Sky and other social media places.
Those people also tell their friends.
Was that okay?
And review the show.
Yeah.
Keep in mind,
They review the show,
we
they
need
tell
to
their
do this.
friends.
We need to do word of mouth because at the moment, 0% of the Green brothers listen to this podcast. And if we can get
as far
as we know, if we can get that number to 50%, it would be huge.
Look, mainstream people.
Mainstream Green brothers do not listen to this
Hank
podcast.
Green. Mainstream Green brothers don't listen to this podcast, but you can be different. Tristan and I also do other things outside of this podcast. Tristan, what do you do? Where can people find you?
I have a YouTube channel called Step Back, where I make stuff about connecting the past to the present. And if this video is out or if this episode comes out when I suspect it will, I will hopefully have a video about French Africa. If not, another video coming out soon about Hindu nationalism. If I wanted to learn, I was a character artist and needed to find a job working for some kind of multimedia business, would you by any chance have any recommendations about where I would go to get hired by, say, an author who hired 15 artists to work on their novel?
That took me so long to understand. Yeah, hey, I have two YouTube channels. Ooh, announcement. It's not really. It's an old channel, but I finally posted there. I have two YouTube channels. One of them is called NerdSync. That's my main one. N-E-R-D. Almost
It's called Wisecrack.
S-Y-N-C. It's called Wisecrack. My
now that you've defeated Wisecrack, you get to have the channel. You own the channel now.
I own the channel. It's mine now. My second channel is called NerdSync Sidekick, where I just post videos about whatever's interesting to me. And I made one recently that got a lot of views. I was not expecting, about the final boss of Book Talk, which is a thing that has been very interesting to me over the past couple of months. Just absolutely wild story. Go check it out. This outro is all over the place because we sort of went out of order with the whole mainstream listeners thing, but you get it. Reviews, tell your friends. Probsnotaliens.com is a place to send people. And
if you happen to live in the Montana area, tell all of your friends and neighbors about them.
Yeah, tell all of them. Statistically, you might. It'll get to one of the greens. Okay?
No, one of them is in Indianapolis. We're targeting Montana.
All right, it'll get to. Well, there are more. Yeah, Hank is one of them, but he's got more than just. He's got more family than just John, right?
There's just two people.
So, all right, it'll hit one of the greens in some capacity.
This is a green-sinking missile.
That's the. We gotta end the
end
show.
This is getting a little stupid.
Until next time, my name is Scott Nicewater.
My name is Tristan Johnson, and the truth is out there. Never. It's never out there. Why it's never out there?
Why it's never out there unless it is. Until it is.
Until it is.
Until it maybe is.
This bit is dead. I think we killed it. We managed to overdo it in a single episode.
we've been doing episodes that are just oops all bits, I feel.